All right. Hello, everybody. Guess what? Today we are talking about the three power moves to become your own bank. Did you know that there are three power moves that all of us must take in order to function like our own private bank? There are two banking systems. There's a public banking system and there's a private banking system. And in the private banking system, financial transactions are protected from taxes. They're protected from probate. They're protected from predators. They have exponential growth and they grow tax-free. Now, as an African American woman, I didn't find out this until I went into back rooms and I hit the $1 million roundtable at insurance companies as a producer. And by myself, as it were only two African American females in the room. At that roundtable, after being there for 2 years, the top producers began to open up and tell us secrets. And I first discovered this in 1998 and began to grow in my knowledge of these things. But let me tell you something. I got so mad after I heard this because I was one of the top 7 life insurance agents at Globe Life Insurance. I was number 7 in the entire country. Those who were sitting around the table with me were millionaires. They're millionaires, they were quarter millionaires, and do you know how much money I made? I made $35,000. Here's a guy sitting directly across from me who made $250,000, and this was 1997, and I made $35,000. I produced more premium than him. Why? Financial segregation. So yes, I was angry, fit to be tied. You picking up what I'm laying down? I had discovered redlining in the financial community that I had been a subject to for several years. Thus began my purpose in life. Do you know that a lot of times the hardship that comes your way designs and creates your purpose? That was a defining moment for me. I'm going to tell you one more defining moment for me. During COVID, now I went through some hardships in financial services. It's no joke, okay? But in 2020, I came back into financial services because of COVID. I lost my job like everybody else, right? And I discovered the principles of how to take life insurance, investment accounts, and trust and turn them into private banking systems. How to dip into these policies and dip into these accounts and let them grow and never have to pay taxes, never lose a dime, and get stock market gains. When I discovered this in the early 2020s, I began to overfund my accounts. And then by March of 2021, they began to pay me passive income, which means they were paying me and I wasn't doing a thing. I caught COVID and almost died in March of 2021. And I looked into my bank account and there was $2,000 deposited into my account. I couldn't move because COVID had attacked my lungs. You remember, I don't know if you ever caught COVID and how that felt. I couldn't do anything. My son had it. I had it. The following Friday, another $2,000 was deposited into my account, but it was a little bit bigger. Then the next Friday, it happened again and again and again. The month of March 2021, I earned just about $12,000 for the month, and it was all passive income. It was paying me from two things. Number one, I had built an agency and taught agents the be your own bank concept. They took it up, they learned it, and they began to do it on their own. Number two was this sweet being called an Index Universal Life. The agency I was with taught us to overfund it. They taught us to tithe to ourselves in this financial vehicle. So I got an app on my phone, which I still have, and I began to just put 10% of every dime I earned into this policy, and I would do it in my son's policy. At the time, he was about 12 and a half. And then after a year went by, that policy began to deposit money into my bank account. Tax-free passive income. Do you pick up what I'm laying down? And I was like, oh my God, this is it. Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called The Cash Flow Quadrant. Now, Robert is a billionaire. He said there are 4 ways to earn money. He said you can have a job or be self-employed. If you have a job and you're self-employed, that means you're exchanging your work for dollars. You're working for money. And if you don't go to work, no money will come in. He said that it is impossible to be financially independent if you're working in exchange for money, trading time for dollars. He said the only way to be financially independent is to be an investor and to have investment accounts that pay you passive income, or have a business system and that business system is paying you passive income. He said there's the left side of the cash flow quadrant and there's the right side of the cash flow quadrant. Working hard, he called it the rat race, exchanging time for dollars, or letting your investment accounts, your life insurance, your annuities, your real estate pay you passive income. Or you have a business system and you have AI, or you have maybe a book or some kind of commodity that is a one and done, and it just begins to pay you passive income. I discovered after over 20 years of being in this industry that I was hustling policy to policy for small commissions, burning myself out, when all I had to do was transition and put my money into certain products and then share that with other interested agents, and I could leave the rat race. I'm a single mom. What has happened since I've been doing that since the beginning of 2020? Well, what you see behind me is not a virtual set. This is my $600,000 home. It's 3 levels. It's 4,000 square feet. I'm not bragging. God gets the glory, and God has no respecter of person. But I want to tell you, I use the be your own bank concept to take care of emergency situations and put a deposit down on this $600,000 home. I'm sitting in a movie theater in my home just because I don't want to go down to the office, in my home. And my mom, who's 80 years old next month, has a jacuzzi tub to take care of her hip and a waterfall shower. And she lives in her own apartment above me. I went from welfare living in Woodbridge, Virginia, in a government subsidized apartment in 2022 to a $600,000 piece of real estate. Now, this is not the end goal for me. This is a transition. The vision is to flip real estate, to be my own bank, to continue to grow my policies, to borrow the life insurance company's money, to purchase real estate, rent it out, keep this home, rent out the different levels of this home, create $4,000 a month from this home, move into another home, and make this home into passive income, multiple streams of passive income. Now, I had no knowledge of that in 2020. In 2020, I was sitting in a 2-bedroom government subsidized apartment in Woodbridge, Virginia. I have got the EBT card to prove to you that I was on welfare and food stamps in 2020. I had to go through a big transition mentally. I had to read books. I had to associate with successful people. I just paid a few $100s to be in a VIP back room on laser funds and different things like that. So yes, I had to go into a deep dive of personal development and financial education to get to this place. But what I want to do is invite you to come along with me. Listen, stop what you're doing. Take notes. This information is free. It costs me something, but you just happen to be at the right place at the right time. So I'm going to ask you not to take it for granted, to get out a piece of paper and a pen. If you have a cell phone and you can take notes on an app in your cell phone, get these financial terms. Now you might be Richelle, why are you giving this information away for free? What's in it for you? That's a fair question. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to offer myself to you as a financial strategist. If you see something that you feel you can use for yourself or for a family member, I'm going to offer you the opportunity to book a 15-minute phone call with me where you and I can chat about what you saw. If there's a connection between you and I, then I'm going to give you the opportunity to book a 30-minute green sheet appointment with me where we sit down, look at where you're putting your money and see if we can diversify and find the money and redirect or recreate some of the things you're already doing. So the opportunity here is to be your own bank and to do a coaching first phone call, just to touch bases, and then a 30-minute call with me. So the good news is I'm not going to ask you for any money. I just left a call this morning, and at the end of the call, they asked for $3,999 in order to come into a coaching coaching situation with them. I've been on calls where they've asked for $1,600 a month, right? To understand and to be in that relationship. We don't ask for those large amounts of money. All we're asking for is referrals. If you decide that you want to work with me, the fee is 10 referrals, but only after you know what it is I'm doing and you feel comfortable about that. Is that fair enough? Is that fair enough, Miss Kimberly? Is that fair enough? Am I calling your name right, Miss Paulia? And I hope I'm saying your name right. Is that fair enough? And you can just put a little 1 or yes in the chat. All right, so now with that, clearing that off the table, let's take a look, okay? And see what it is I want to share with you on today. All right, so here is a copy of my ebook. It's called The 3 Power Moves to Become Your Own Bank, Tax-Free Retirement Investment Strategies. If you decide to work with me in exchange for 10 referrals, guess what? you'll get a free copy of this book. We have found that financially educated clients are the most powerful clients. So we don't want to hide this education. We want you to see it, feel it, touch it, taste it. So guess what? You are going to get the opportunity to have a copy of this book. I told you a little bit about my background, told you about my $1 Million Roundtable experience. We also coach other agents, life insurance agent, brokers, and Series 6 financial agents on this concept. We have a trademark, a patent on this particular concept. So you're with the right person, right? I already told you nothing is for sale. So you don't have to worry about that. Even if you come on a 30-minute coaching call with me, at the end, nothing is for sale. But you are going to get large amounts of money poured into your bank account. You're going to get the opportunity to create tax-free passive income, right? Transparency. Here are the companies that we work with. All of these companies are A+ rated or A rated with AM Best and Standard & Poor's. These are both life insurance and investment companies. We only work with those that are 100 years old or older. Why? Like I said, I've been in the industry since the early 90s. And I have worked for companies that went out of business, and I lost money and I lost my clients. I never want to go through that again. So I will never, and we as a company, we will never pick to work with companies that are not at least A rated. And I want you to do the same, okay? All right? So I have a question for you. Who are you when it comes to money? What is your thinking? When you get your paycheck, what are some of the first things you think to do with it? Is the first thing you think to do with it is to pay out all of your bills and then live on what's left over? Is that the first thing you think to do? And as a result, do you have more money? Do you have more month left over than money? Guess what? If your mama did it, your grandmama did it, your granddaddy, your daddy did their money that way, it is a high probability that that type of thinking is deep in your subconscious and in your DNA. And it is hard to get away from that kind of thinking. Number two, are you the kind of person who has an allotment coming out of your pay, and that allotment puts money to the side? So every time you get paid, you pay yourself first. Now, you might be a Christian like I am. You're tied to God. But guess what? You can tie to God and still be broke. I know. I lived that lifestyle for many years. I was like, God, why is it that I'm tithing all the time, but I'm still living paycheck to paycheck? The reason why is because I wasn't taking 10% and tithing to God, and also 10% and tithing to myself. So when you get a paycheck, are you setting money constantly aside for what the Bible says? Go to the ant thy sluggard in Proverbs. See how when things are good, she sets money aside for when the cold weather comes, so she don't have to be out there. Or do you have an investor's mindset? Which means when you look at your paycheck, you are thinking about ways to create more money with the money. How can I create money babies with every dime that I get? Where can I put my money where the whole thing, if possible, can make more money? So my question to you, are you a spender? And if you are, it's okay. That's where I was before I learned to apply these principles. right? So are you the one who bills? You put your bills first, and maybe God is first and then your bills are second, or you're not even on the list? Are you a spender? Are you a saver? Are you an investor? Before we can do any kind of financial strategy, we've got to identify where you are and then turn that bad boy around. Now, if you're a saver, do you have at least 3 months worth of emergency funds set aside someplace in liquid cash? I'm not talking about your 401k. I'm not talking about CDs. I'm talking about you can go to a bank account and or some type of financial vehicle, make a phone call, and whoop, money is in your account within 24 to 48 hours. Do you have at least 3 months worth of emergency funds set aside? Right? If you are an investor, do you have at least $100,000 set aside for your retirement, taking care of your future self? Be it in a 401k, a Roth IRA, CDs do not qualify to create passive income. So when you're an investor, you're thinking about ways to create passive income for yourself. So that is money making money that pays you your salary eventually, pays you enough money to pay your bills eventually, right? So do you have some type of account that you know you're putting money to create a passive income, to take care of your future self? So first, identify where you are, because we're talking about being your own bank. Being your own bank is the art of using other people's money to make money. And if you're not paying yourself first, then it is impossible for you to be your own bank. You picking up what I'm laying down? Okay. So if you are a spender, there's emotional spenders, which means I can't even resist. I gotta have it, right? If you're an emotional spender, then you've got to set up a system for yourself where you're tithing to yourself, out of sight, out of mind. And if you want to know good places to put your money, then that's going to be a phone call. Book a phone call. Just get on the phone with me, and I can tell you all kinds of different places that where you can grow your money and create those emergency funds. Here is the problem. This is the way we were taught to use money. We were taught to put money in a savings account, and then when we have an emergency, draw it all out down to the line of zero, and then go to work putting that money back in again. Or get a credit card, spend it down to the line of zero, and then pay the credit card back. But listen, the only way to break that curse is by the ability to let your money sit in there and leverage your money. What does that mean, leverage your money, Richelle? That means your money stays in there and it grows. And then you use your money as collateral to get more money. So an example, if you had $10,000 sitting in a financial institute, you have two options. You could go to that banker, or you could go to that investment company, or you can go to the life insurance company and say, I want to borrow $10,000 from you and use my money that's sitting there as collateral. I want a cheap loan, and I want to keep my money full growing forward for a year. Give me 1 year to pay you back what I borrowed, knowing that you're going to make more money in interest than that banker is going to charge you for a loan. That way your money never goes down to the line of zero. It's called using other people's money to make money. This is how banks operate. Okay? So, Kimberly, let me give you an example. Let me tell you how banks work. Okay? I'm going to skip this savings challenge. If you guys want to know about the savings challenge, we're going to skip that just for time's sake. All right? But this is just a savings challenge. I want to propose to you that you set aside no less than $200 a month for yourself. Okay? So listen, Miss Kimberly, this is how banks operate. So let's just say I deposit $50,000 in a bank, right? And I just sit it in there and I just let it grow in my account. And then Kimberly comes along and she goes to the same bank I go to and she says, you know what, I need a $50,000 loan for whatever. The bank is going to take my money and loan it to Kimberly. And then they're going to check her credit and they'll charge her, let's say her credit is challenging, they'll charge her 12% interest on my money. Then she'll pay my money back plus the 12%. And then Paulia will come in and she'll borrow money. And the bank will take my money again and loan it to Paulia and maybe charge her 10% interest. Banks, by federal law, can recycle your money to 10 different people. So if you have a chunk of money sitting in the bank, your money is right now being recycled and loaned out to different people. So banks don't own their own money. Banks just take our money, loan it out, charge interest to make money. So being your own bank, the mindset is being able to make money on a loan. So just like I told you, if I take this house that I'm sitting in and I'm moving to another house, my son's going to go to college, right? So I can get maybe even a smaller house, but I can take and rent out the rooms in this house and charge, let's just say I charge $1,200 a month for each room. So what am I doing? I'm being my own bank. My renters are paying the mortgage here, and my renters are paying the mortgage on my new home. So now I'm growing equity in this house, and I'm growing equity in my other house, and I don't pay a dime for my 2 pieces of property. That's leveraging loans. You can do the same thing with a life insurance policy. You can do the same thing with an investment account. Wow. Suppose we had learned that in high school. How much further along would we be in life right now, right? There are holes, though, in every investment account. The first hole is taxes. So if you have a 401k, a 403b, or an IRA, or a thrift savings plan, those are called tax deferred, which means you're putting off paying your taxes until you need the money. The IRS will charge you state, federal, and an early out tax penalty. 22 to 25% state, 3 to 13%, 22 to 25% federal, 3 to 13% state, and a 10% early out penalty on top of those 2 taxes if you're if you're younger than 59 and a half years old. You are going to pay a minimum of 30% in taxes on your retirement plan if you don't learn how to be your own bank and make that money tax-free. The second thing is fees. Brokers, financial companies, even if you have a 401k, broker fees. If you have a brokerage account, brokers charge 1 to 2% of the balance of your account for the rest of your life. If you add up the fees in your average broker account, brokers are going to get an average of $10 to as much as $50,000 per year, every single year, taking money out of your account. Suppose you could eliminate those broker fees by being your own bank. Low growth. If your money is earning less than 5% interest, your money is depreciating in value. Let's just say I paid $1 for this tea at the store, and it's June of 2025. I went back next summer, and this cost $1.05. What happened? The cost of living increased by 5%. So if all I have in my pocket is $1, I'm not going to be able to buy this tea next year. Do you understand? So if your money is sitting in a bank account and it is growing at less than 5%, the buying power, you're losing buying power on your money. Your money is decreasing in value. The minimum interest rate that you want to get on every single account you have is what? 5%. Okay? Write that down. I'm going to say it again. The minimum interest rate that you want to earn on every savings account you have is what? 5%. Anything less than that, and your money is slowly depreciating in value. The third thing we want to talk about is, I'm going to hide this bar. Excuse me, y'all. I'm going to hide this bar. Can I hide this panel? Hide that floating panel. Okay. The third thing we want to talk about is the stock market. You know, we talk about this as financial advisors. There were about 150 of us in a training class today. And the one thing we all agreed on is, why are they taking people's retirement money and putting it out on the stock market? You know that the stock market is going to crash. So let's just say you had $100,000 in your retirement account and the stock market crashed in March. Y'all know that. And you lost $30,000. You make $60,000 a year. You're putting 5% of your income into your retirement plan. How long would it take you to just recover that $30,000? Well, if you were putting in 10%, you'd be putting in $6,000 a year. So it would take you another 10 years just working to put back what you lost from the stock market. People don't realize that because we're so programmed. That is why the average person who retires, who makes $100,000 a year or less, has less than $200,000 saved for retirement. And those retirement plans pay less than $20,000 a year. And you still have to pay taxes on that. So as fiduciaries, financial strategists, we are recommending that you take your retirement money off the stock market and learn how to grow it without losing any money, tax-free. How do you do that, Richelle? Keep watching, okay? In the beginning of this call, I told you there are two banking systems. There's the public banking system and there's the private banking system. The public banking system is your bank, credit unions and banks. Your retirement plan on your job. Those are the two public banking systems. What does that mean? That means that a judge, either a federal or a state judge, can seize and freeze your accounts and take all of the money. That means that a creditor that you owe can tie themselves to a lawsuit or a state And you can wake up one morning and all of your money is gone, including your 401k, because that is a public banking system. That means that when you die, there's something called death taxes that your state will apply. Death taxes and probate. That means as soon as you die, the bank is going to send your account number and your social security number out into the creditor system, and everything on your credit report, any heirs, any spouses, any taxes, any tickets, property taxes, you name it, will seize the cash in your bank account and seize your assets before your children or your spouse get a dime. It's called probate. There's only 3 things that avoid probate. Lean in and listen. I'm sorry, I need to back up. There's only two things that avoid probate, and they're both in the private banking system. The number one thing is the cash value in a life insurance product. Did you hear what I said? The cash in a life insurance product. If it's a life insurance annuity, if it's in a life insurance account, if it's in a life insurance policy in the form of cash value, those are the only things. As soon as it goes into the life insurance policy, there's a tax code called the 7702A tax code. It becomes a portion of a death benefit, and the death benefit forms a trust. So the second thing that avoids probate and taxes are trust, living trust, annuity trust, Rockefeller trust. A will does not avoid probate. A will initiates probate. So if your family, if you get with a lawyer and you write a will, all you're doing is giving that law firm permission to fight for you in court, right? And they will fight and they will win, but there will be a lot of fees, and it does not avoid probate. I'm going to say it again. The only thing that avoids taxes and probate are 2 things: life insurance products and trust. That was worth the cost of admission if you listened and you took it in. O.J. Simpson avoided probate by listening to his wealthy friends on the golf course. And he put $6 million into life insurance, cash value products, annuity trust. So he took his annuity, his Roth, his 401k, he put it into self-directed IRAs, and then he took those self-directed IRAs and put them into trust. So that when he came out of jail, he earned over $600,000 cash flow, annual cash flow, passive income, and the Goldman family could not touch it. They took everything, his Heisman Trophy, his land, everything. But that $600,000, OJ has since passed away. That trust created a legacy for his children that nobody else can trust. He created trust fund babies. So if you just took all of that in, you just got the foundations of how to be your own bank. Trust, honey. Transferring your money into a trust. At the end of the day, that is the only way to leave the rat race for you and your family. All right. So the first power move, I actually just told you all 3 of the power moves. If you listen carefully, I just told it to you, but I'm going to break it down to you. The first power move is leveraging a loan in something called the rich man's Roth. The rich man's Roth, E.F. Hutton created a life insurance policy. in the early 1980s. It's called an indexed universal life. E.F. Hutton took a look around and he saw people buying temporary policies or term policies on their jobs, or they would buy these cheap term policies with companies. And then when you get to age 65, you either have no more life insurance or the life insurance price goes up so high you don't want it anymore. He also took a look around and saw the miseducation system, which means that nobody is learning about the market. We don't know what a bear and a bull is. We don't know how to buy and trade stocks. That's just a secret education that you have to pay for. So it's causing the downfall of America. So he created a life insurance policy that would do the opposite of those two things. It's buy permanent life insurance and invest the difference in a fixed index Roth IRA. What is that? That is a tax-free retirement plan where you don't lose a dime and you get stock market gains. Sweet Jesus. So he created this thing called an index universal life. And him and his backroom associates and their rich colleagues started stuffing hundreds of thousands, millions, 1 million, 5 million, 20 million. They were stuffing millions of dollars into this life insurance policy. They would buy a smidgen of life insurance, and then they would do something called self-insure, which means they would have so much cash in this policy that the life insurance was insignificant. They took advantage of the tax laws of life insurance and created passive income for themselves. Oh my, yes. Walt Disney did it too. This is how he purchased Disneyland. He bought a $2.5 million dividend-paying whole life policy when he first got married. And then in the 1940s, and then in the 1950s, he wanted to purchase Disneyland in California. He didn't have any money. So he went to the banks and tried to loan money. None of them would loan him money because they didn't believe that theme parks were any good. At the time, theme parks were the places where the degenerates went. You know, people who were scammers, selling snake oil and all of that, the bearded lady. So they were not going to invest several $1 million to build a theme park. So Disney went to his whole life insurance policy and he borrowed $100,000 out of his cash value. So what did he do? He kept $100,000 in cash value in the policy, and he went to the life insurance company and borrowed their money while his $100,000 stayed in the policy and kept growing. He took that $100,000, purchased the land in California, developed Disneyland, and when Disneyland opened up, it grossed over $2 million. So he took $100,000 and flipped that real estate and turned it into $2 million. Then he paid his policy back, and he only had to pay 3% interest on that $100,000 that he borrowed, which means at the end of the year, he had the $100,000 from last year, and he had the interest from last year. Then he had a new $100,000 plus the interest. So at the end of the year, he had $200,000 in principal and 2 years worth of dividends. He discovered how to be your own bank using a life insurance policy, never taking your money down to the line of zero, using the life insurance company money to make money. Be in your own bank. So I said Walt Disney did this back in 1950. So why do people think that it's a new concept? Well, I told you my story in the beginning, right? I told you I was at the $1 Million Round Table, And I had only made $35,000 for the year. But I was sitting there surrounded by other brokers who had made $100,000 to $2 million a year. And I'm in the top 7. So for the same reason why I was making $35,000 and I was surrounded by millionaires, that's the same reason why you and I didn't know about this. Happy Juneteenth. It's Financial Independence Day. Y'all picking that up? So the first power move is learning how to leverage a loan. Now I'm going to say this because I feel some Christians around me, and I feel some Christians listening. The Bible says the borrower is slave to the lender. But I got a revelation on that. The borrower is slave to the lender when the borrower doesn't know how to make money on what they borrowed. I'm going to say it again. Pastor Woods, Pastor Joseph, Pastor McCray, all y'all pastors that watch my broadcast, I'm going to say it for you again. Pastor Gist, the borrower is slave to the lender when the borrower does not know how to make money on what they borrow. They don't know how to take a loan and make money on the loan. They don't know how to get investors to invest in their ministry and make more money. They don't know how to take my money to the exchangers, Jesus said, so that I can have my money plus usury. He gave us explicit instructions on what he expects us to do when he gives us money. And that's all I'm going to say with that. So here's a 60-year-old client. She had $200,000 sitting in her bank. She was a saver. She lived in this little house in Norfolk, Virginia. Not too much of nothing, clean but cute. And ever since she first started working, she was that person like my grandma, putting money in the cookie jar. So when I saw her, she had over $200,000 sitting in a bank account. And she said, Richelle, what you said about probate, boy, that hit my soul. You mean to tell me when I die, the government is going to charge death taxes and they're going to freeze my account and then they're going to give it to all my bill collectors and taxes? I said, yes, ma'am. But Richelle, I want this $200,000 to go to my grandchildren. I have 2 smart grandchildren. I want them to go to college. They're just about at that age, and I want them to have it. I say, yes, ma'am. I can help you. And then she said, Richelle, at age 65, I want to create passive income. I need about $1,000 a month more, and then I can live a comfortable lifestyle. I said, yes, ma'am. So what we did was we took that $200,000 that she had, and we did a one and done. And we dumped it in that Index Universal Life that E.F. Hutton created. And we taught her how to be her own bank. So she passed her medical exam. And when she did, when she transferred that $200,000, it automatically created a life insurance policy for her. For $588,704, she more than doubled her assets instantly. And then she said, well, Richelle, you told me what we did was we allocated that money, and we have a special patent, and we even have software on how to do this so that it wouldn't create a mech. Those of you who are life insurance agents, you know what I'm saying. So that she wouldn't have to pay any taxes. We have an algorithm that does that. And so we showed her that at age 65, she can have her cake and eat it too. So at age 65, it's going to start paying her $1,200 per month, tax-free for the rest of her life. Well, what about the cash value? Well, I'm glad you asked. As she's taking that $1,200 a month, she can still be her own bank and borrow money from the life insurance company. Her cash value is $72,000 at age 69, $144,000 at age 74, $216,000, $288,000. So she has the ability to borrow over $200,000 as she's taking cash flow and still live her grandchildren over $500,000, avoiding probate tax-free. Yes, ma'am. Now, she had a little bit of high blood, a little bit of diabetes, and she was about 30 pounds overweight. But she passed her medical exam with flying colors. So guess what? She got additional benefits added onto her policy, something called living benefits. What's that? So if the doctor ever diagnosed her as terminally ill, she could surrender a part of that $588,000 and take $389,000 for herself from the death benefit. So she'd be leaving about $200,000 back for death benefit. And she can take, and this is immediately, okay? It creates these living benefits the first day, okay? And if she needed long-term care, which means her son and daughter would have to take care of her, right? So instead of going through all of that, she could go to an assisted living facility, a high-end one, a multi-million-dollar one, because this policy is going to pay her $6,744 per month towards her long-term care. If she was diagnosed with cancer or had a heart attack or a stroke or kidney disease, she could surrender that death benefit for $360,000. And if she suffered head trauma or was severely burned or went into a coma, she could leverage that death benefit for over $360,000. She said, okay, well, Richelle, that's great. She had a lump sum of money. She wanted to turn it into an estate. She wanted to avoid probate, get it out of the bank, right? So as a financial strategist, we always make sure you have at least 6 months worth of cash to 3 months worth of emergency funds in the bank. So trust and believe. We don't draw your bank account down to the line of zero. That's unethical, right? So she had enough to keep her emergency money in the bank. Always, always, always. And then transfer what she needed to transfer out of that public banking system. Here's another couple. They said, Richelle, we're tired of this 401k. We don't like it. We're tired of losing money in it. We understand that as soon as we retire, the government's going to tax it. And because we're in a 6-figure income, the government's going to take 40% of it. What else can we do with it? I said, listen, do what E.F. Hutton. Listen to E.F. Hutton. Let's take a look at this index universal life. So I said, listen, if you want to keep some of it, keep the matching money. They were overfunding it, right? Said, well, listen, drop down to the company matching and then diversify the rest. And that ended up being about $1,500 a month. So they decided to diversify it into this IUL. And if one of them died, the other one would be a millionaire. They said, you know what? Our life insurance on the job expires. As soon as we leave, they're going to raise the rates up to $500 a month, or they'll drop us altogether. So this solves that problem because it's a permanent life insurance. It'll cover them for the rest of their life. Problem solved. They said, Richelle, about $5,000 a month over our pension would put us at a 6-figure income again, so we don't have to decrease our lifestyle when we retire. I said, there you go. There it is. At age 64, this policy is going to pay you $5,122 a month. But guess what? It's not just going to pay you that, it's going to be tax-free. But that's not it. That's not all. Because it's the income from a death benefit from a life insurance policy, it's not going to raise you back up into the tax bracket of 6 figures. What? You mean it's not going to be earned income? No. A life insurance policy creates its own trust. So just like getting paid from a trust, getting paid from the life insurance death benefit, because you're liquidating a portion of the death benefit, which the cash value is considered a portion of the death benefit. Because you're liquidating that, you don't have to file that $5,000 as income on your taxes. I'm like, how come more people don't know about this? You mean to tell me we can tell the government we make $60,000, but we can live on $105,000? I said, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. If you do what I'm telling you. I'm not even done. You have cash value that's going to be always growing in the background. So when you get age 68, you're going to have over $300,000 in cash value to be your own bank. What does be your own bank mean? That means you borrow their money and keep your money growing in the policy. I say, well, Richelle, suppose we can't pay back that $300,000. Then at the end of the year, they'll decrease it from your death benefit. Your death benefit is collateral for your loan, so that if you don't pay it back, then they're going to decrease whatever you didn't pay back out of your death benefit. Wow. So if we don't want it to pay it back, we don't have to. If we just took $800,000 worth of death benefit instead of $1 million and didn't pay back the loan, we'd be all right. I said, if you'd be all right, if you listen to me and fund it properly to keep it going, yes, right? I said, well, if you don't need the money and just let it grow, by the time you're 83, you're going to have $1.2 million in cash value. And you'll have the living benefits, terminal illness, chronic illness, critical injury, Alzheimer's, long-term care. And people say, well, Richelle, $1,500, I can't put in $1,500 a month. I don't have $200,000 to put into this plan. I said, well, honey, listen, if you're in your 50s and you want this to be a supplemental retirement plan, you need to put in at least $500 a month. And if you can't put in $500 a month, put in $250, right? But if you're in your 50s and you know that by age 65, you need to leave your job and you do not want to apply for a job at Walmart, right? So you need that supplemental income. Then that's your range, no less than $250. When I first got started in 2020, I told you, I was living in a government subsidized apartment, me and my son, and we were just getting started. I just lost my job, right? And the company I worked for reprogrammed us to leave $1 million. So I started with $250 a month, and I got a $1 million term policy, and then I converted it. As soon as I saw that cash flow flowing, I converted that that $1 million into an IUL. And then I started tithing to myself. And I think God felt me faithful. I was tithing to God. I was tithing to myself. I was tithing into my son's policy. And my assets and income just kept growing and growing and growing. God found me faithful. And then before you know it, when I got COVID, everything that I paid into started paying me. It was that emergency place that I needed when the floor fell out of my life and I thought I was going to die and was wondering what was going to happen to Solomon, my son, right? So you're probably saying, wow, yes, I have 4 of these now. One for my mom. She took out one. My mama took out one at age 75, right? And now I'm taking over her premiums and I'm overfunding her policy. My son, he's going to be ready to go to college in 2027 or 2026, 2027. He's going to have a nice chunk of money in there so he can be his own bank. He's going to be able to buy a car and just go and do what he needs to do, right? And I have several for myself. Mine is going to pay out $10,000 a month at age 65. That's going to protect this lifestyle and take care of my family. Right. All right, so I think that is it. So the power moves, leverage a loan. Power move number 2 is if you have a 401k, you want to do a roll out, not a rollover. You want to do a roll out from your 401k. You want to drop that money into something called a self-directed IRA. Okay, power move number 2. But not just any kind of IRA. I'm not talking about going into the bank and say, I want an IRA. And then they take your money and put it on the stock market and you lose it. It's like, what? What's the purpose? Or not, oh, I want an IRA. You go into the bank and they give you a fixed IRA and it's only paying you 3%. I might as well stick my money under the mattress if all you're going to do is pay me 3 or 4%. It's not going anywhere, right? So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something called a fixed indexed account. What is that? Well, fixed means it has a floor or a guaranteed interest rate. So when the stock market crashes, your money sits on the floor of 0 or 1%. Index, which means you're going to get stock market gains. We have some uncapped indexes. So if the stock market does 14%, you can capture all of it. We have some capped indexes, which means if the stock market does 14%, you may only get paid 8%. Okay, so that's an index. And it's a Roth, which means, well, we have some that aren't ready. If you're going from a 401k to a 401k, you're going to have to do it without triggering the government to come after you. So you have to do power move number 1 into a fixed index account. But the beautiful thing about these is that they pay bonus money. Ooh, what's that? That means if you rolled over $200,000, the life insurance company is going to pay you $20,000 for doing that. Are you serious? Yeah, no joke. And then bonus it, grow it, and then turn it into passive income. You mean you can do all that? So in high school, they should have taught us that there was 3 ways to get paid money on your money. That's the fixed account. In the industry, we call that flatlining because it never goes up. It doesn't go up high enough to keep above inflation, right? It's just a fixed account. The third type of account is variable, which means it's out there on the stock market. And if the stock market goes down, you're losing your money. The third type is the one that we weren't taught and that they've had in back rooms. I heard Robert Kiyosaki say, you don't put your money out on the stock market without insurance. You want to make sure you have insurance on your money. You have insurance on your car. Why don't you have insurance on your money? So when the market crashes, you got insurance, so you're not going to lose a dime. I'm like, this joker is talking about a fixed index annuity, a fixed index account. They've known about it, and we didn't, right? So you want a fixed index account for your retirement money. So when the stock market crashes, you don't lose anything, but when the stock market goes up, and you gain. This is a strategy. Remember I told you I was a financial strategist? So you take your money from your 401k, IRA, thrift savings plan, 403b, you transfer it into this fixed index strategy. You get bonus money, you get stock market gains, you have it reallocated, and then you do power move number 3. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to pass this. You do what the Rockefellers do. You take that account and you put it into a trust. But not just any kind of trust. You put it into an annuity trust. There's something called annuity trust. Yes. Rich folks have had these for hundreds of years. Rockefeller has one. The Rockefeller family has one. The Goldman family has one. And the list goes on and on. I have a mentor. The last time I checked in with him, his assets were worth over 85 million. He was the first one to turn me on to this. He said, Richelle, put everything you have, including your name, in a trust. And then he said, there's something called an annuity trust that will allow you to get paid as the guarantor, which means you're the person who put the money in there, and it's going to pay you every month. It's going to avoid probate. It's going to avoid taxes. And that is the third power move. So you can do a life insurance policy And that life insurance policy will create its own trust and give you tax-free income. Or you can take your retirement money, do the fixed index strategy, and then from there, transfer it into a Rockefeller structured trust. Move 1, move 2, and move 3. Hallelujah. Okay? So what are the next steps? The next step is to call me. Just call me, right? And let's do a green sheet. First, call me on the phone and tell me what your main interest is, right? And then if I say, hey, I might just give you the steps on the phone, do this, this, and this, and then come back and talk to me later, right? You ain't ready. I might say, you ain't ready for a one-on-one with me. Do this, this. I might give you some homework. Go do your homework and come back and talk to me, right? Or you might be ready and we do a green sheet appointment. If we do a green sheet appointment, what we're going to do is take a look at what you got and then how to make it tax-free and how to create passive income out of it, right? We're going to help you design a plan that's going to hit your money goals. If you were to go to a fiduciary, their fee would be about $5,000 just to do this piece. If you were to go to a law firm and try to do a trust, their fee is going to start at about $3,500 to $5,000. What's my fee? Referrals. 10 referrals. Are you serious? 10 referrals. I mean, I'm not going to take the $5,000 because God taught me a principle of seed time and harvest. And I understand that good referrals are worth more than money. The Bible says a good name, King Solomon said a good name is worth more than silver and gold. So I understand that, right? I understand that principle. Then avoid paying taxes and guide you to the right law firm and the right trust. That's wealth management consultant. A wealth management consultant is definitely going to charge you at least $20,000. How to take a life insurance policy and turn it into a tax-free income and a self-directed IRA, how to do a self-directed IRA and a fixed index strategy, how to reallocate your money. Do you know that every year we call our clients and reallocate our money? Do you know that when the stock market was crashing in March, we were like, oh, come on, let's hit a recession, go, go, go. Because when the stock market hits the recession, we know a strategy called buy the dip. And in our index policies and in our index accounts and annuities, when that stock market hits the lowest point, as soon as it turns, wow, it goes way up. So we get our clients and we reallocate their money into another strategy where they're going to earn 14, 20, 30% because they were wise enough to get on a call with us and reallocate as that stock market took a dip. How much would a financial advisor charge you for that? Well, I'm going to tell you, a financial advisor wouldn't even look at you, even think about you, unless you had $250,000 in assets that they could manage. They wouldn't do that for you. Absolutely flipping not. What's my charge? 10 referrals. Oh, my sweet Jesus. I hope y'all picked that up. My worth to you is at least $50,000. At least. So when you get on a green sheet appointment with me, we're going to take a look at whatever you got. If you're not there yet and you need to do what the Bible says in the book of Proverbs, that is, be the ant that sets aside the money for a rainy day, and you need to get emergency funds, get your emergency funds up, we'll guide you in that direction and tell you money market accounts, high yield savings accounts, and we'll guide you into what you need to do to get your emergency funds up. And we'll send you on your way. Well, bye-bye. If you need life insurance, just a basic foundation of life insurance, we'll make sure that it's affordable, right? And we'll make sure it's the absolute best policy you can get And we'll give you a big kiss and make sure the insurance is there. Make sure you're on track for saving for emergencies. Give you a big kiss and bye. If you've got retirement money on the stock market in a 401k about to be taxed half to death, and you need to transfer it into a tax-free fixed index strategy, we'll walk you hand by hand through the process. Hand by hand. Do you hear me? How much is that worth? I'm telling you. Okay? So wherever you are on the spectrum, whether you just need whole life insurance for your grandkids or your babies or yourself or whatever, or you've got $20 million in assets and you know you don't want the government coming after that, right? And you want to self-insure and you're trying to get that out of the public banking system. Wherever you are on the spectrum, guess what? God has put us in a position to be right here for you. And again, the fee is 10 referrals. And when is the 10 referrals due, Richelle? After you talk to them. Because I ain't going to call them. I've been in the business since 1997. I don't knock doors and cold call and all that stuff. You are going to talk to them first, which means you're going to text them my business card. Hey, I'm working with Richelle. She's doing some amazing things. I love her. I trust her, da-da-da-da. And then after you send them my business card, about a week after that, that's when I'll call them. So we do this the professional way. We don't, we left that, cold call life behind many, many years ago, okay? And that's the way we do business, all right? So scan the QR call, there it is, scan it. Book a 30-minute Zoom call with me. I really prefer a phone call, so you can call that 1-800 number right there, 1-866-757-4396. Call me, let's test the waters. Let's see where you are, and let's see if I can guide you in the right direction by phone call first. And then after the phone call, if it's a good fit and we get on a Zoom call, be ready. Know how much life insurance you have. Know the kind of life insurance. Is it term or whole life? How much do you have saved up for retirement? Be financially aware. The beginning of financial literacy is financial awareness. You don't turn a blind eye. You've got a retirement plan, you don't know how much money is in there. I got a little spanking for you. Pop, pop, Open your eyes, look at it. And if you don't know, I'm going to send you away on the phone. And when you come back on the Zoom call, you're going to be able to tell me, is it a 401k? Is it a 403b? What are the balance? Do they match you? Do you have term insurance, whole life? How much coverage do you have? How much are you putting into it? Are you aware of your personal finances? Are you setting aside money for emergencies? Are you not? How much money do you have left over at the end of the month? How much does it take to pay your bills every month? What is your number to pay your personal bills? And then how much do you have left over after you pay your bills? Are you tithing to yourself out of your cash flow? Where are you? Where are you? That's what God said to Adam. When Adam ate of that apple, he began to see evil. He didn't even see evil. He didn't even know it existed. As far as Adam and Eve were concerned, evil did not exist. You think about that. But Adam bit that apple, and then he started running away. And he said, oh, Lord, I'm butt naked. He grabbed something and put it around it. And then he fell asleep. And God said, where are you? So when you call me, I'm going to ask you, where are you financially? Are you looking? Do you see? Or are you blind? Are you financially blind because you're not looking? Right? So where are you? And then once you know where you are, you're going to come to me and say, hey, Miss Richelle, this is where I am. Can you help me? I'm going to say yes. All right. All right. So I stayed on this call a little bit longer than normal I have two beautiful ladies on this call. Right now, I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. Now, this morning, I paid $99 to be a VIP in a room similar to this for financial education. This is a higher level of education. And in order to ask questions of the educator, we had to pay $99. Everybody who was general admission and didn't pay, they couldn't ask questions. But guess what? I'm treating you guys like VIPs. For the next 5 or 10 minutes, ask me any questions that you have. All right? And if you don't have any questions, no worries. Book a call with me. Call me up and let's see what steps we can take together. All right, Miss Kimberly, Miss Paulia, do you have any questions for me?
Rochelle, give me that 1-800 number again. My phone was ringing when you were giving it, when you were
No,
giving the
I'm
number.
not. I ain't gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you my cell phone number. Matter of fact, you have it because I
I have
called you.
your cell phone, but you said you prefer the 1-800 number, so that's
No, you
okay.
got my cell phone number, so that's better than
Okay.
that. You want me to
Okay.
text you?
I have your other number. I have your cell phone number.
That's right. You call that. Don't be calling me on the 800 number because you are a
Okay.
personal referral. You a step up, okay? You're not some call off YouTube. So you call
Okay.
my cell phone, okay? That's better.
Okay.
Is that the only
Okay.
question you have? You have any other question?
Um, I've got to digest a lot of this.
It was a lot, girl, like drinking from a fire hose. But you know what? Piece by piece, and it's all worth it. And come again. I have a YouTube channel. Go there, listen to it, rewind, repeat. Because, honey, it took me at least 5 years, and I'm still digesting it. Like I said, I was on an educational call today, and I'm like, what? You know, it's a never ending process. So. All right, Miss Kimberly, you have any questions? Or you're good?
I think I'm good.
All
And I'm
right.
probably just trying to make sure that I have a clear understanding. So I'm going to digest what you said,
Yes, ma'am.
and um, then you don't have to call me this afternoon. You were going to call me, I think.
No, ma'am. At 8 o'clock, Richelle don't call nobody.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think you called me
No.
earlier today, and I told you to keep
I
it later.
did. I did.
So,
And I know you and your sister are supposed to be going on a field trip. So you and your sister go on the field trip, and when y'all get back, you can holler at your girl. Okay?
okay, we will do
All
that.
right. You
Okay.
do that, yes. And I know you're gonna have some questions. If you take that field trip and take a look and you don't have any questions, I know you gotta have
Okay.
questions. All right. All right. Well, love and blessings, everybody.
I
I'm here every
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank
good.
you.
I'm here every Thursday night if you want to come again, and if you want the YouTube link to do some studying and do some on your own, that's what I'm here for. All right. Blessings, everybody on Facebook and everybody here. We'll talk to you later. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy Juneteenth. Bye bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.